Spoiler alert. We begin the story at the Mediterranean Sea, where a young sailor named Edmond Dantes rescues a struggling woman from a nearby shipwreck. Captain Danglars is furious with Edmond for defying his order to stay on the ship. He punches Edmond and says, "Not only do I know that I'm brutal, but I take pride in it." He then grounds Edmond for the rest of the journey. Later, Danglars orders his crew to take the woman away, but he notices something in her hand and seizes it. He discovers that it's actually a letter from the exiled Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte himself. The next morning, the woman visits Danglars and asks him to return the letter. He ignores her and says that if she wants him to stay silent, she should pay him money. She replies that she lost all her belongings in the shipwreck and warns him that her friends won't be merciful if they find out he exposes her to the authorities. She leaves without getting the letter back. When they reach Marseille, the woman thanks Edmond for rescuing her. When he asks her name, she says it is Angèle, but tells him it's best not to remember her name at all. Back at the shipowner's house, Danglars reports Edmond for disobeying his orders and suggests to the shipowner, Mr. Morel, that Edmond should be fired. However, Mr. Morel disagrees. Instead, he promotes Edmond to captain for bringing honor to his ship and fires Danglars for his poor leadership and incompetence. Danglars is enraged by the decision. Edmond rushes to share the good news with his girlfriend, Mercedes. He proposes to her now that he has the means to settle down. Mercedes joyfully accepts his proposal. Edmond also visits his father, Louis Dantes, who works for the de Morcerf family. His father is happy to hear the news and asks Edmond to thank Mr. and Mrs. de Morcerf, as they were the ones who helped pay for Edmond's naval studies. Fernand de Morcerf, the son of the family, congratulates Edmond on achieving such a high position. They grew up together and have become best friends. Mercedes also attends the celebration and apologizes to her uncle, Mr. Morcerf, for being late. Pretending they are just friends, she hugs Edmond and smiles cheekily when he tells her he will soon be a captain. Later, while hanging out with Fernand, Edmond shares that he and Mercedes have been in love for a long time and are planning to get married. Fernand is shocked by the news. He secretly loves Mercedes and wants to marry her himself. Edmond, unaware of this, asks Fernand to be his best man. Smiling through his heartbreak, Fernand agrees. However, on the wedding day, Edmond is suddenly arrested. Everyone is shocked and tries to defend him. Fernand, being a lieutenant, promises his best friend that he will get to the bottom of the matter and ensure Edmond is released soon. Brought before Marseille's deputy prosecutor, Gérard de Villefort, Edmond is accused of being a Bonapartist agent. The letter from Napoleon was found hidden in his Bible. Edmond insists he is innocent and believes he was framed. He tells Villefort about the woman he rescued on the ship and how she told him to forget her name. He suspects she might be the owner of the letter. Villefort begins to worry when he hears the name Angèle because she is his sister. To protect her identity, he tells Edmond that he must keep him in custody a bit longer while he interrogates the rest of the crew. Edmond suggests he question the ship's quartermaster, a man named Gaspard. Soon, Fernand arrives at the prosecutor's office and insists that Edmond is innocent. Villefort tells Danglars and Gaspard that they will speak again later. When they leave the room, Villefort shows Fernand the letter that led to Edmond's arrest. He says he will release Edmond and let the marriage go on if Fernand wants it. However, Fernand sees this as a chance to stop the wedding. He conspires with Villefort to send Edmond to a secret prison on the isolated island of Château d'If. Danglars and Gaspard overhear their conversation. Danglars warns Gaspard to stay quiet if he doesn't want trouble. Soon after, guards arrive to take Edmond away. Mercedes is heartbroken when Fernand tells her he couldn't do anything to help Edmond. She grieves, knowing there's a high chance her lover will be hanged for treason, even though she believes he is innocent. When Angèle hears about Edmond's arrest, she feels guilty and confronts her brother Villefort. She threatens to expose his affair with Danglars' wife, Victoria, if he doesn't release Edmond immediately. But Villefort values power more than anything and refuses to risk his reputation as he climbs the social ladder. To protect himself, he chokes Angèle unconscious and hires Danglars to get rid of her. At Chateau d'If, a guard makes his daily rounds to check on the prisoners. Edmond wakes up as he hears the knock on his cell bars and responds that he is still alive. His hair and beard have grown long, and he is skinnier than ever. He receives food and water through a bucket. There's no way to escape this prison without a rope or ladder. Every day, he dreams of holding Mercedes' hand again. His love for her remains unshaken. One day, Edmond hears a scratching sound on the wall. At first, he thinks he's hallucinating, but then he sees the bricks move and starts removing them desperately. Hope returns as he sees light on the other side. A figure appears, asking his name and age. Edmond replies that he doesn't know how old he is anymore. He has lost track of time. But he remembers he was 22 years old when he was imprisoned on May 16, 1815. The stranger calculates that it's been 4 years. He seems to be a very educated man. Suddenly, a noise comes from above. The guard is making his rounds again. The stranger quickly retreats to his cell. Edmond begs him to stay, but he disappears. After the guard leaves, Edmond starts loosening the bricks. One by one, he pulls them out and crawls through the hole. He gets excited when he sees candlelight in the distance and soon reaches the stranger's cell. Overwhelmed with emotion, Edmond hugs the man and cries tears of joy. He hasn't spoken to anyone in years. The stranger introduces himself as Abbé Faria. Calculating the time it took to reach Edmond's cell, Abbé estimates that if they work together, they can dig their way out in about 10 years. With newfound hope, Edmond begins exercising to prepare his body for the hard work ahead. As time passes, Edmond and Abbé Faria become close friends. While they dig together, Abbé teaches Edmond various subjects: history, mathematics, languages, and philosophy. Edmond becomes wiser and more knowledgeable with each passing day. One day, while sharing personal stories, Abbé Faria realizes that Edmond was framed. Abbé then tells Edmond a story about the Knights Templar, an ancient order that became extremely wealthy. But King Philip the Fair ordered their arrest and seized their wealth. Although many knights were captured, their hidden treasure was never found. Some surviving knights sought revenge, which eventually led to their own downfall. But one of them chose to abandon vengeance and live a quiet life. He trained a final student, Giuseppe Faria, who later became known as Abbé Faria. Before his death, the knight revealed the secret location of the hidden treasure, the island of Monte Cristo. Abbé tells Edmond that he has never shared this secret with anyone until now. He promises to split the treasure with Edmond if they ever manage to escape. But he asks Edmond an important question. Will he use the treasure for good, or will he let hatred consume him? The question lingers in Edmond's mind. Years go by. One day, while digging, they finally reach a spot where the soil feels damp. Abbé believes they are close to breaking out. However, the tunnel suddenly collapses. Abbé is crushed and badly injured. Edmond quickly drags him out, but Abbé knows his time is up. He thanks Edmond for being a true friend and tells him not to be sad. With his final breath, he reminds Edmond once more where the treasure is hidden, on the island of Monte Cristo. The next morning, the guard comes by to check on Abbé Faria. When there is no response, the guard enters the cell to confirm that Abbé has died. He prepares to dispose of the body. Edmond watches from the hole in the wall. When the opportunity comes, he quickly swaps Abbé's body with himself, hiding inside the burial sack. The guards don't notice the switch. As they carry the sack away, one of the guards goes to check Edmond's cell. He finds Abbé's body there instead, but it's too late. Outside, they've already thrown the sack into the sea. Edmond escapes the sack underwater and swims to freedom. After many painful years, he is finally free. He returns to the de Morcerf manor, but a caretaker points a gun at him. Edmond calmly tells her he is only there to see his father, Louis Dantes. With a sorrowful expression, the caretaker tells him that his father died many years ago. Heartbroken, Edmond asks what happened. She explains that Louis starved himself to death after hearing false news about his son's death. Edmond is devastated. He never got to say goodbye. He also learns that the de Morcerf family now lives in Paris and that Mercedes is married to Fernand. They even have a child together. The betrayal cuts deep. For a moment, Edmond considers moving on, just as Abbe Faria once advised. But after learning everything that has happened, anger fills his heart once more. Using the yacht, Edmond sets sail to the island of Monte Cristo. He follows the directions Abbe gave him and eventually reaches the hidden location of the treasure. After searching, he finds it. The treasure is just as vast as Abbe said, and endless riches. With this wealth, Edmond decides to get revenge on those who ruined his life. Months later, Edmond returns in disguise as a priest. He visits the quartermaster, Gaspard, and offers him a diamond to talk. At first, Gaspard is terrified, but Edmond promises he means no harm. He says this is Gaspard's chance to confess everything and make things right. Gaspard begins to tell the full story. He explains that Danglars was jealous of Edmond for becoming captain. Villefort framed him to protect his reputation. And Fernand, Edmond's best friend, wanted to marry Mercedes, so he signed a letter claiming Edmond was dead and helped send him to Chateau d'If. Gaspard also reveals that Danglars betrayed the ship owner Morel. After Morel was forced to rehire Danglars, he claimed that pirates stole half the company's ships. The lie bankrupted Morel. Danglars then bought the company at a low price and became its new owner, while Morel died in poverty. Worse still, Gaspard confesses that Danglars sold Angèle to the Maillard brothers, who ran a brothel. Gaspard feels ashamed that he did nothing to stop it. Edmond tells him that redemption is still possible. Later, Edmond visits Angèle. She is no longer the strong woman she used to be. He asks for her help, but she suggests he help someone else instead. Years ago, Angèle managed to escape the brothel and visited her brother Villefort's home for revenge. As she approached the house, she heard Villefort's mistress screaming. Moments later, she saw Villefort coming out with a wooden box and burying it. After he left, Angèle heard a baby crying from underground. She dug up the box and found a living infant inside. She chose life over vengeance and ran away with the baby. But later, the Maillard brothers found her. They took her back and sent the baby to an orphanage. Now she asks Edmond to find the child, his name is André, and take care of him. Edmond agrees. He finds André and tells him that he will be his mentor from now on. After finding André, Edmond begins carefully preparing his revenge. He trains André in secret and starts gathering information. From the shadows, Edmond learns the habits, routines, and secrets of those who once betrayed him. One evening, a stranger suddenly grabs Fernand's medal and runs away. Albert chases after the thief, but is led into an ambush. Several men attack him and begin beating him. Suddenly, Edmond appears and saves Albert. Edmond makes sure Albert sees his face. Then, André knocks Albert unconscious, and the paid attackers vanish into the night. The next day, Fernand and Albert visit Edmond's home to thank him personally and return the pistol that Edmond had accidentally left on Albert's body. In his disguise, Edmond introduces himself as the Count of Monte Cristo. He tells them he only recently arrived in France. Fernand is in a hurry and leaves soon after, but before going, he invites the Count to a hunting event on Sunday. Edmond accepts the invitation. Albert, however, stays longer. During this time, he hears a woman singing. Edmond introduces her as his goddaughter, Haydée. She is on her own personal mission for revenge, just like Edmond. On Sunday, Edmond attends the hunting event and brings André along, introducing him as Prince Andrea, the son of an old friend. André is nervous. This is the first time he meets Villefort, his biological father, face to face. Danglars is also present and doesn't recognize Edmond at all. He warmly welcomes the Count and Prince Andrea. After the hunt, Danglars hosts a lunch party. During the event, Mercedes sees Edmond again. Although he is in disguise, she recognizes him instantly. Her memories of him return. Feeling overwhelmed, she excuses herself to catch her breath. Seeing her again stirs something in Edmond as well. But later, when he reads the letter that claimed he was a Bonapartist agent, signed by Fernand himself, he pushes those feelings aside. He concludes that Mercedes did not mourn for him long after he was gone. As Edmond continues attending events, he grows closer to his enemies without them realizing who he really is. At one such event, a man named Lord Halifax is mentioned. The group discusses how Halifax recently bought a newspaper company. Edmond comments that he used to know Lord Halifax and considers him an enemy who spreads lies. Later, Albert writes a secret letter to Haydée, asking to meet privately. Just as Edmond planned, events unfold perfectly. At their secret meeting, Haydée learns that Mercedes and Albert will not attend Edmond's dinner party. The dinner is being held at Edmond's newly purchased estate, which in truth is the same place where Villefort once buried his baby, André. During the dinner, Edmond begins telling a story about how the house feels haunted and how he sometimes hears the cries of a child coming from underground. Villefort's mistress, Victoria, who is also Danglars' wife, begins to panic. The guilt from her past rushes back to her. She knows what happened in that very house many years ago. Edmond then mentions that while his workers were installing torches in the garden, they found a hidden chest. He says he waited for his guests before opening it. Villefort and Victoria panic even more. When the chest is finally opened, Edmond pulls out nothing but an old, dusty cloth. Villefort leans closer to examine it and confirms it's empty. The next morning, Victoria confronts Villefort. She wants to know the truth. Is their son still alive? She's carried this guilt for too long. Villefort insists their child is dead. But deep down, he begins to suspect that Edmond may know more than he lets on. Feeling threatened, Villefort goes to meet Lord Halifax to investigate the Count of Monte Cristo's past. He doesn't realize that Halifax is Edmond in another disguise. During the meeting, Villefort tries to find out if the Count can be trusted. Lord Halifax tells him that everything the Count says is true, but warns that if Villefort becomes close to the Count, Halifax will treat him as an enemy. With that warning, he says goodbye to Villefort. Meanwhile, Haydée begins to fall in love with Albert. She tries to suppress her feelings for him. André, on the other hand, manages to befriend Danglars and his daughter. Finally, Edmond begins putting his revenge into action. He secretly meets Gaspard again and gives him a task that will allow him to redeem himself. Soon after, Danglars hosts a birthday party for his daughter. The celebration, however, is interrupted by shocking news. Danglars' ships have been stolen by pirates, according to the paper. Later, Fernand learns that the newspaper report was faked by Lord Halifax, who bought the newspaper company recently. Fernand and Villefort advise Danglars to file a lawsuit against Halifax. But Danglars, always greedy, sees an opportunity to make money. Before filing the lawsuit, he plans to buy up his own company stock while it's still cheap from the bad news. When the news is proven false, his stock will rise again and he'll sell it at a profit. To carry out his plan, Danglars visits the Count and asks to borrow 500 million francs. He offers his land and properties as collateral and promises to repay every penny. The Count, wanting to help his new friend, agrees to lend him the money. The next day, the court summons Lord Halifax to face charges of defamation. But instead of appearing in person, Halifax sends a letter stating that he's already in England and will send a representative in his place before 2 o'clock. Meanwhile, Gaspard went on with a bunch of hired men to steal Danglars' ships for real. When the clock strikes 2, André steps forward and declares himself Halifax's representative. He claims that Lord Halifax's news agency never lies and confirms that Danglars' ship was, in fact, stolen in broad daylight. He urges the court to check with the port authorities to verify it. Then comes an even bigger shock. André reveals his true identity. He is the son of Gérard de Villefort and Victoria Danglars. Villefort tries to deny it, but André says he is willing to bring his mother as a witness. Victoria, overwhelmed with guilt, doesn't protest. Realizing he's about to be exposed, Villefort storms out of the courtroom. The judge postpones the hearing. Danglars is confused and rushes to speak with the Count. He reassures him that his ships are still at the port, but the Count finally reveals his true identity. He tells Danglars, "Not only do I know that I'm brutal, but I take pride in it." Just like Danglars ruined his ship owner in the past, Edmond has now ruined him. Meanwhile, André, filled with emotion, draws a hidden weapon and attacks Villefort. As he tries to escape, the guards fire back. Haydée rushes to his side. He tells her not to cry as he takes his final breaths. The sight of both Villefort and André lying lifeless on the floor shakes Edmond deeply. He remembers Abe Faria's story about revenge. At the cemetery, Haydée stands beside André's grave, angry and heartbroken. She turns to Edmond and blames him. She says that his thirst for revenge will destroy everyone. She no longer wants vengeance. She just wants to move on. Edmond reminds her of her own past, how her parents died, and the life she was forced to live. Not wanting to hurt Albert anymore, Haydée writes him a letter. She warns him to stay away from her. She says that being near her will only bring him danger and sorrow. But Albert, determined to speak to her, left the house to confront her. He tells her that he loves her. She insists he forget her and warns him about the Count of Monte Cristo. But Albert ignores her warnings. He invites her to leave everything behind and run away with him, to start a new life far from the darkness surrounding them. Realizing that Albert truly loves her, she agrees. Just as they are about to leave, Edmond steps in and stops them. He demands that Haydée tell Albert the truth about her past, or he will do it himself. With no choice, she tells Albert that her father was once a powerful ruler. He trusted Fernand de Morcerf and welcomed him as an ally. But Fernand betrayed that trust and shot her father dead. Then, when she was only 10 years old, Fernand sold her into slavery. She says she came to France not for love, but for revenge. Albert is stunned. The truth about his father shakes him. He realizes that he has been used by Edmond all along. Fueled by anger, Albert challenges Edmond to a duel. Haydée begs Edmond to not hurt Albert, but Edmond says this is something that must be done. He wants Fernand to feel the same pain his own father felt. That night, Mercedes visits Edmond in secret. She pleads with him to spare her son. She reveals that the moment she saw him again, she knew that he is Edmond Dantes. Edmond shows her the letter Fernand signed, the one declaring him a Bonapartist and mentioning his death. She apologizes for not having faith when he disappeared and for believing the lies she's been told. Mercedes confesses that she never stopped loving him and understands Edmond's pain, but begs him to let Albert live. Out of respect for Mercedes, Edmond agrees to let him live. He tells her that the duel will still happen because if he renounces his revenge, then he renounces his life too. With that statement, he says his final goodbye to Mercedes. As promised, Edmond misses his shot, purposely surrendering his life to Albert. Later, Haydée hears the returning carriage, and on seeing Edmond alive, she starts cursing him. But soon, Albert steps out from the carriage as well, and Haydée is glad to see him alive. Edmond suggests that they run away and have a chance at happiness, one which he could not get in his lifetime. After knowing the truth, Mercedes makes a decision to leave Fernand as well. She feels used and betrayed. Consumed by rage and regret, Fernand arrives at the manor and challenges Edmond to a sword fight. The fight is intense. Fernand is a skilled soldier, and he manages to wound Edmond severely. But at the last moment, Edmond turns the tables and finally pins Fernand to the ground. Humiliated and defeated, Fernand begs Edmond to end his life, but Edmond refuses. The dead are eventually forgiven, he says, leaving him in his own guilt and misery. Later, Edmond writes one final letter to Mercedes. He tells her that he still loves her, but he is a broken man now. He knows he cannot bring her happiness anymore and must return to the sea, where no man leaves a trace behind.